How's it going, everyone? We'll give it a couple more minutes as people continue to file in here, and then we'll get started. All right.
Shawn, do you want to see some hockey while we're sitting here?
I had the stream up right before I came on.
I got Miles T. McQuiggan, dead center of my screen. Everything is right in the world.
My condolences that I wound up in the middle of your screen.
I'm working through it, man. It's all right.
I'll just give it one more minute. People still filing in, so. Let's see if we have everyone too. TK's here. Ken. Pete. Okay. All right, we'll start to get underway here. My hope is that we can stick to about a half hour and then get everyone on their way, as I know it's extremely busy for everyone. So thank you for joining us on sort of this onboarding process for the CoSIDA Mentorship Program. My name's Shawn Medeiros. I'll be moderating the Zoom for us today. So just a quick rundown of what we'll be talking about. We'll talk about mentor goals, mentee goals, and relationship goals. And then we'll hear from a pairing that's been through the program and has continued on that pairing over the last year or so, and just get some insight from them. And then at the end, we'll just go through a quick Q&A. If anyone has questions, feel free to put them in the chat at any time. Myself and Lindy Brown will make a note of it, and we'll get back to it at some point. If you feel more comfortable asking the question over Zoom, just feel free to mute yourself and jump in. We want to make this sort of informal in the sense that we want people to feel comfortable about asking questions and going through some of what they're working through as they have situations, whether they're the mentor or the mentee or both. But we just want people to learn and grow through the program, and hopefully the Zoom can kick things off. So we'll talk about the panelists a little bit here. Just quick, brief introductions. We have Pete Moore from Syracuse. He's the Director of Athletic Communications there. We'll also hear from Ken Sweeten. He's the Associate Athletic Director for Communications at Southern Connecticut State University. And then we'll have our mentor pairing of Teresa Kurtz. She's the Associate Director of Strategic Communications at the Mountain West, and Marissa Avanzato. She is the Communications Coordinator at Texas A&M. So we'll start off with Pete first, and he'll kind of go through the goals from a lens of the mentor through this program. Pete, all yours.
Thanks, Shawn, and hi, everybody. It's great to see such a large group on here, knowing how busy we are, but this is important, and I think you'll all get something out of it. Speaking on behalf of those of us that become mentors, it's our way to thank those that have mentored us along the way. And so we really enjoy it and find it very gratifying to be able to help out others in this way. I've been part of the program, started, and have enjoyed the interactions that have come out of it. I will say, at least from my point of view, and maybe some of the other mentors, we very much want the mentees to lead the dialogue a little bit. We don't want to be imposing on you, but we also want to let you know that we're available all the time, anytime, and are anxious to talk about whatever topic you might want to get into. Having said that, after discussion, we do have some goals for the mentors. One of them is to be a sounding board to the mentee, to give the mentee someone to listen to. A second one is to provide fellowship, to give you a colleague that you can commiserate with or share successes with. To offer suggestions of tools to use. One thing that I think the veterans in the profession have learned is that you never stop trying to get better and trying to learn. And anyone can make suggestions or find things along the way, whether it be a book or a podcast or an article that helps us be more effective communicators. The mentors are anxious to help the mentees become more confident in their position through discussing practices and strategies around leadership that'll make you feel more comfortable in the position that you're in. We're available to talk through situations, whether it be a crisis communications setting or a specific challenge that you have. We're very anxious to help you through those. And in summing up, I would say that what the mentors are hopeful for is that we'll become part of what I would call your circle of support. When you start out in the profession, your circle's smaller, but the more time you spend in it, the more people you encounter, that circle gets bigger. The more people in your circle, the more protected you are, the more support that you have. So we're one step along the way to making that circle of support a little bit bigger. And we're very anxious to engage and help you along the way. I appreciate your attention and wish you all luck in the mentorship.
Thanks, Pete, for sharing all that. Just one quick note to add to Pete's sort of list of goals there. At least in the relationship that I've had with some of my mentors, the reviewing of your mentees' work and kind of being, constructive criticism on their work, maybe going through their press releases, going through their graphics, going through some of that type stuff on a regular basis would be helpful on both ends, because I think it keeps your skills sharpened as a mentor, but also a mentee. So we'll transition over to Ken Sweeten now. He's going to talk about mentee goals and relationship goals for your mentor pairings. Go ahead, Ken.
Thanks, Shawn. I'm happy to speak with everybody today. I see a lot of familiar faces. And I think when you're approaching this from the mentee standpoint, I think it's important that all of the mentees realize that the best mentor programs are mentee driven. And I think if you approach this program with that sort of mindset, and you bring questions, concerns, or a problem to your mentor, know that you're going to somebody who's going to listen, support, sympathize with any problems that you have. And these are individuals that know who you are already. They've sat in your seat and they've gone through the things that you've gone through. And I think it's important to realize that when you're going into this and you're meeting with your mentors, ask a lot of questions. Your mentors are there for a reason, and they're only here to make you grow and make you the best version of yourself. Not to sound too cliched, but they want to support you. They want to support your ideas and help you grow in this profession and as individuals. And not only should you bring your concerns, your problems, the issues that you have on a day-to-day basis, but bring your success to your mentors as well, and celebrate it together. I think that's very, very important. For me as a mentor, I go to one of my mentees to look over my stuff. Hey, what do you think of this graphic? Do you think I should change this? Does this headline work? Do you think that? I go back and forth with them. And I think when you have that sort of openness in a mentor-mentee relationship, it just makes it that much more successful. So don't be afraid to ask questions, but keep an open mind. You may have a different perspective than those individuals. We're all here to help everybody. And I think what's important is a lot of things that we mentioned before is being timely, respecting your mentor's time, and they, respecting yours as well. Just understanding what the workflow is in your program that you're going into, and what your goals are. The plan is important. You should have personal goals that you want to achieve and discuss those with your mentor. And you should have goals within your group as well, within your pairing that you want to get to. I think, you also need to realize that your mentor may not know everything that you have an issue with. But getting to that person early on in the process of an issue that you may have may help them in helping you get you to somebody that they know. And if you're a mentor in this group, if there's a chance your mentor knows quite a few people that can probably help you either with specific problems or general problems in general. Just communicate things that come up, just throw it out there in your conversations. And, we're here to help you. We're here to facilitate other relationships outside of just the mentor-mentee relationship together. I think that the last thing that I would leave on is, be open to suggestions from your mentor. It may be completely different than what you think the answer is, but just be open to constructive criticism. These are individuals who have been where you are, who will say, you know what, I had an issue like that 5 or 6 years ago with a coach. And I did this, I tried this, and it worked out really great for me. Just keep that mindset open. Be willing to adapt. You don't have to adhere to everything that your mentor says, but just know that there's somebody with experience in this field who will be a great asset to you moving forward. And thank you, everyone. It's my soapbox.
Ken, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. All good notes. Before we switch over to Teresa and Marissa, just want to reiterate, if things are going well or things are not going well, hopefully, the first part of that conversation, reinforce things with your liaison role, use them. We have a lot of people that are overseeing the program that have been mentors and mentees. So make sure if something's not going the way you'd like it to, or if things are going well and you just want to share that with Lori and the rest of the committee, the liaison roles, that'd be largely important as we try and gather tangible feedback for the program and understand what people's needs are. Maybe we're overlooking something, maybe we're not focusing on something enough. So just keep the liaisons in the loop as much as you can, your mentor and mentee pairings. With that being said, we will switch it over to Teresa and Marissa. They're going to talk a little bit about how their relationship has gone. I think you'll find pretty quickly that they're a pretty close group. And it's a cool bond that they've sort of fostered over the last 2 years. So Teresa, if you could take it away for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Shawn. As he mentioned, it's been a couple of years now since Marissa and I were initially paired. I believe it was the 2019-20. So it was before COVID, before everything got crazy. So we just wanted to share a few things that really worked for us in that year. And then now, a couple of years later, we still lean on each other both for things at different times. And so, the big thing is communication. And there are a couple of different areas when it comes to communication to have successful pairings. The first is really find out what the mentee is. I really was like, okay, Marissa, what do you need from me? What are you looking for in a mentor, and how can I assist you in this year? For her, it was a transition to a Power 5 school, and it was a transition that I had done a handful of years before, and we had similar sports. The other cool thing was I happened to know one of her coaches, so I was able to help in that area as well. So, the big thing was finding out how I could be of assistance to her and help her throughout that year. And then from there, it was just finding out ways that worked for us communicating. Sometimes it was shooting a text and having conversations over text message. Other times we picked up the phone. As the year progressed and COVID happened, we would Zoom. I do remember we did end up having a marathon Zoom one day where we were just going to kind of check in. And 2 hours later, we realized we had even more in common than we thought before. And so just being flexible in the different ways to communicate and be there for your mentor, mentee was huge for us. And just checking in. One of the big things was softball scoring. So we spent a lot of time talking about softball scoring, even though we didn't get a full season of it. But even just after a softball weekend, checking in, like, how did it go? Were there any plays that confused you? How was the press box? So just really being present without, also knowing that you have a lot of times. One of the cool things that Marissa did constantly was, hey, I want to talk about this. Do you have time today? Or when do you have time to do that? Recognizing, I was transitioning to a new job just like she was, and our schedules are crazy. So she was always cognizant of that and, not, hey, I need something right now. Can you drop everything and like pick up the phone? Because we all know that's not always, that's not doable. So I really appreciated that. And we were always able to find time, and just being flexible, I think, is one of the big things with that. So the familiarity and the communication are the big parts. And then I'll turn it over to Marissa to finish up.
Yeah, I think similar to what Teresa said, I believe the program's really what you make it. And it's just reaching out, not just signing up for the program, doing the mandatory check-ins or the Zooms. It's really making that effort to kind of reach out to get that help. And for me, like she said, transitioning to Power 5 and not alone my first full-time job, I was all over the place. I was learning as I go. And I think it was so important for me to know that I could reach out to Teresa at any time. I remember even before COVID hit, I would send her a text in the middle of a softball game, like, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened. How do you think I should score this? And even just kind of going through my first volleyball season, I never expected to make it to the Sweet 16. I'm just like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, and it was just kind of her telling me to like relax and just kind of work through the steps every way. And yeah, like she said, sometimes it would just be like, I hate to say it, simple text in the middle of a game, during a game, after a game, but then kind of following up over the weekend, like what worked, what didn't work, what can you improve on? And it's really just kind of that open line of communication and just kind of continuing talking. And like I said, it was huge to just be able to lean on Teresa like throughout the whole first year. It was such a huge transition for me. And then even last year, I mean, I played softball, but I was never a softball SID. So that was my first real season, and just kind of remember her, she sent me this whole cheat sheet that helped me a lot. And I mean, up until then too, I was always like the student or the intern. I never had to manage students. So that was kind of a new role I was trying to figure out as well. So it really was just kind of leaning on each other a lot and just kind of having her support and knowing that like, okay, like someone else I can talk to, someone else I can vent to, like not in my office. And I mean, we got this close. I remember she sent me like a birthday card. We sent each other holiday cards when I feel like cards were the thing inappropriate before COVID hit. And I think it's just being able to trust your mentor and to reach out and don't, like I said, don't just sign up for the program and go through the mandatory things. It's really what you make it. And I mean, I convinced Teresa to sign up for the CoSIDA Fitness Challenge I was on. We still have group text messages and we still talk all the time, even if I need her help. I know she'll answer, and I know I'll get some good advice. So like I said, it's what you make it, and went great for me.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Teresa. One question we have in so far, and Teresa and Marissa, feel free to answer. Ken and Pete, if you have some thoughts on this too, feel free to jump in. But just how important to the relationship is getting to know your mentor or mentee from the non-SID perspective? Throw out the work part of it. How important maybe was that to you, Teresa and Marissa, for your relationship? And then Ken and Pete, if you have anything to add, feel free.
I think it's huge. You know, we're all more than this job, and we spend so much time doing this job that I think part of why Marissa and I are such good friends still to this day is because we did take the time to get to know each other outside of the job. I mean, sure, yes, I'm a former softball SID and now so is she, but like we're more than just being whatever sport SID. And so I think that tremendously, or like it made our relationship grow closer quicker, finding out what she was, and like she said, we started doing the fitness challenge together. And next thing you know, like, you know, we call, like there's some of us that would call while we're walking, and then you just start talking about life. So I think it just really does change the dynamic for a better, or for the better, when you take the time to also get to know them as who they are outside of being an SID.
Yeah, just kind of going off of that too. Like I had a previous situation before I came to A&M, and kind of being able to trust Teresa with that and kind of open up about that because it reflected how I moved on in my full-time career, and even in this whole industry. So being able to just kind of trust her, open up with that, because certain things she knew that I was like having trouble with. And I mean, that definitely made our pairing stronger through my work, but knowing that, like I said, we talked on the Zoom probably for 2 hours, knowing we kind of went through like kind of a similar situation, but just being able to have that trust and know that you're not alone through it all.
Ken or Pete, anything to add?
The thing that I would add to that is that from from my point of view, the door is open to any topic. We're all so immersed in our work that there's a lot of overlap between work and private life, and having the chance to talk to someone who's experienced some things, whether it be work related or family related, I think is always a good thing. And so from my perspective, any topics on the table, it's really up to the comfort level of the mentee, which direction they want to go.
I think Teresa and Marissa are a great example of mentor mentee that did this the right way. You see, when they talk about each other, they're both smiling. You know, there's something to the stories that they share. I think it just makes the whole experience a lot easier. Certainly make it more enjoyable, more fun if you get to know the other person and understand their personality, and you know, it'll just facilitate the whole thing that much easier.
We have one other question. We have one other question from the group. At least right now, if you're, and this could be for the four of you, whoever wants to jump in. How do you navigate struggling to create goals with your mentor-mentee pairing? I know we've talked about that a little bit up at the top here, but are there any direct examples that maybe the four of you have where you had a difficulty and kind of navigated through that in a successful manner?
I think having an experienced mentor, that's where I like to look at this relationship as mentee driven, as I mentioned before. You know, I think it'll be more beneficial to the mentee if their questions are getting answered, you know, rather than the mentor just speaking at them. But I think that in this regard, if somebody, I just lost my complete train of thought. I apologize. I just,
Oh, good.
I think when you're struggling to have goals and you have a strong mentor, you have somebody that can sit there and say, you know, last year when I was working with this mentee or this mentor that I had in the past, this individual that I had in the past might have had the same struggles that you had, or I know you mentioned this, and maybe if there aren't specific goals that you want to attain, still building off of you know, getting to know each other and getting to know each other's personality will certainly help facilitate that conversation and build trust between the two of you at the very least, so you can have a conversation about whatever needs to be discussed.
Anyone else want to jump in on that, or we'll move on to our next question? All right, we'll move on. So what are some solutions to keeping in touch when things get really busy and communication falls off? If anyone wants to take that, Teresa or Marissa, maybe to start.
Yeah, I think some of that is, you know, a text goes a long way. There were some times, even though, you know, it was a Sunday and I'm in the middle of our player of the week stuff with being at a conference office, and just sending Marissa a text like, hope everything went well, and just letting her know like, hey, I was thinking about her this weekend and hope everything went well with whatever tournament. So sometimes, you know, it doesn't have to be a 2-hour Zoom or a, you know, 20-minute phone call. It can be a simple text that then can kind of open the door for something maybe later in the week when you have more time. So it doesn't have to always be something that is super time consuming. I think even just the text went a long ways at times when, you know, we were both super busy.
Yeah, to feed off that more, I remember my first few months of being a softball SID, we hosted tournaments probably every week, and I was just like slammed, didn't have time. I was always on the go, but just her just kind of checking in on me, texting me, and even when I know she'd had championship seasons, like just kind of like good luck, you got this. Just like she said, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to get on a phone call for an hour, 2 hours, half hour, just checking in now and then. A text really does go a long way, especially in our crazy industry.
And now with Venmo, sometimes like every now and then I get like a $5, go get Starbucks. Like that's awesome too. Not that y'all need to spend money, but those are great too.
I think that's when the mentorship pairing reaches elite level status, when you're on the Venmo and sending people stuff. So if we don't have any more questions in the chat, I'll just do a few more reminders here. Like we talked about, the mentor goals, mentee goals at the top, just trying to solidify those. Keep those in mind as you go through. You also should use your liaisons for any questions maybe that, you can't seem to solve on your own with your mentor or mentee. And then the other reminder would just to be that you should be having some form of check-in calls with your liaison, maybe once a month, or trying to remember the structure. Lori, correct me if I'm wrong at the current moment. Should be at least once a month, right? Or 2 months, whatever the.
Well, yeah, I would think that it's up to the liaison, but I would think at least once every 2 months, they should be getting a small group of the pairs that they're in charge of together. And who can participate, that's whoever can should be on. And be prepared when you come onto those small group Zooms with your liaison to have discussion. It doesn't really work if nobody says anything. So be prepared to talk about what's working, what's not, or, ask the group for help.
Thanks, Lori. Brian Morales already had his liaison call this week. We shared a few stories and just kind of got an overall structure of how those liaison meetings would go. And then other than that, definitely looking forward to see what conversations we get out of those calls every couple of months. So that'll do it for us here. I want to thank Pete, Ken, Teresa, and Marissa for helping give us some guidance on how we want to go through these mentor and mentorship pairings. I would echo, most importantly, what Marissa said. It's totally about what you want to get out of it. So if you put in the effort, it's going to happen. I think we work in a profession where people care tremendously about what they do as a job, but also about other people. And I think you see that daily. So just remember, the success of how you go through this is going to be sort of on you. We've given you the groundwork for that, and we hope that you just take it and go running with it. So that'll do it for us here. We got out before half hour, so that's a win for everybody. And hope everyone enjoys their weekends, and good luck to all of your teams competing.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Shawn.
Thanks, everyone.